Okay, so I'm here to talk a little bit about risk reward system and why I really like the idea of vegans or uh, yeah, vegans. Um, okay, so let's start here. So um, there's an inherent risk when you do anything. Let's say you go walk out to your car. Um, you could get stabbed by somebody. Let's say you go drive down to New York City, you could get robbed. There's a risk, but then there's the reward. You go to your car, you get the thing that you were looking for. You go to New York City, you rage real hard, you have fun, you have a blast, and you play that risk out because it benefits you far more than you would consider the risk is. Um, so now let's translate that back over to the food system. Um, so just like that, our food system is based off a risk reward system. So say that something like artificial sweeteners, they are seen as calorie reducing agents. They can help you lose weight. That's another debate. But they can help you lose weight, and a lot of the food companies see that people like to buy this idea of weight losing thing. So there's a lot of money in it, and then people, consumers, like it. So why not give it to them? Some may say because of the fact that there's, things like aspartame have been shown to produce headaches, um, or also the other debate upon Splenda, uh, or other additives, or other sugars, artificial sweeteners, um, can also have a negative effect such as cancer. So people say, and has been not proven but shown and safety is nothing to be proven either, really. It's just what is most likely, and is that okay? So the FDA has seen that the risk for acquiring cancer has not been high enough to justify removing it from the food system. Although it has in the past, it has due to some have in the past due to re-regulation and other reviews has since been re-established in the food system. Um, and this goes for anything in the food system. One common thing has been coming up is pink slime. A lot of people didn't like the idea of their meat being added with ammonia. The ammonia amount which is in bleach, is really minute in a sense. So what it's used for, it's not like a filler. I saw it on Fox News. They were like, ammonia is added for affiliate. It's not a filler. It's not like a bulking agent. It's what it's used for is to destroy bacteria. Um, and one of the reasons for that is because when you're doing a mass production of meat, um, and you're grinding it up, that grinding process generates heat, and heat in small quantities, like say 100 degrees, or not even like even above 32 degrees, you're exposing yourself to risk. Fahrenheit, that is, um, or even above or below that, you could still have some risk. But you're exposing yourself to a sense of potential growth of bacteria. To eliminate that potential growth and the risk of acquiring a very nasty bacteria or infection, there's many that are involved in meat. You add ammonia, and then you decrease that risk. Now, the potential risk between acquiring a bacteria ailment uh, and then having some sort of negative impact of the ammonia, well, it's like this. You know what I mean? You're a lot more likely in this type of instance to acquire a deficient a disease or infection from bacteria than you are to find any sort of risk uh, for the ammonia. So the food companies say, well, we got to go with the lesser one because that's smart. So that's what they think. That's what they like to do. You may think otherwise. And one way to do this is that if you don't like it, if you do not like the idea of ammonia being in your meat, which is fine, a lot of people have rejected it. Actually, companies who are producing it have gone bankrupt. Uh, and this is also has an instance because the pink slime has utilized meat more efficiently by doing things like adding the like cartilage and things that are not normally consumed with it, with a regular meat product, to increase the leanness. Um, because of that inefficiency, because they're not utilizing those things anymore, they have to we have to cut more, kill more animals and use less. So then, because we're using less, and so that's for inefficient and stressing the food system more. Uh, I know if it came down to it, if I had nothing else to eat in the world, maybe I might try a fried cow ear or something. I don't know. If I had nothing else to eat, fried cow ear. Why not? Okay. Where was I? Okay. Yes. So that's essentially the risk reward system. And if you want to avoid that risk entirely, or reduce the risk or of the whole bacteria and having to add ammonium, what you could do is go to a butcher because the production rate is so low, and there's less cattle being used per hamburger. Uh, there's less risk because you have 100. The odds of you have, let's say you have 1,000 um, cows. The odds are of that one of those, just one of those um, cows being acquiring some sort of or having some sort of infection or some sort of bacteria within itself that can negatively impact you are much higher than, say, one animal that has been well cared for, and cut up and then given to you directly. Uh, one of the reasons why you reduce the risk is obviously because there's less animal meat, and then you don't have to, because you're not grinding this and processing up. There's no added risk for the bacteria. So then you can again not add the pneumonia. So those are some of the reasons for why the risk reward system is utilized in the U.S. is because of the mass production and because we demand cheap products. Because we demand cheap products, well, that requires things like grinding meat, further utilization of the meat, and that's one thing the food industry is really good about doing, is that it doesn't like to waste. Wasting is energy, is lost revenue, and also lost product to you. You could be consuming this. If we can make this thing into something you want, well, why not do it? Because it's good for us and good for you. So that's why you see some things that you're like, wait, what the fuck? Why? I don't want that. I don't want to eat that. Well, you didn't know any different. I mean, I consume 90% lean hamburger. I'm like, oh, sweet, 90%. And I eat it, and I think it's good. Maybe I'm dying. Maybe I'm an idiot for it. But I feel like I'm okay with it. Now, some may say that this risk-reward system is not adequately communicated with the general population. But one thing is, it's extremely hard to educate the population. To put everything like that on a product label would be not only costly, but really difficult for the average Joe to understand all of the reasoning behind what a company does to produce a product, or to add to a product. some may simplify it, like, oh, they just want to friggin' kill me. No, they don't want to kill you. You're a customer. They like you. They like you eating stuff. They're not trying to kill you. They're trying to get more out of you, but uh, yeah, they're definitely not trying to kill you. So some may fight this idea that it's not adequately communicated, but I can assure you that with enough political pressure, there will be more what was it? Transparency within the food market. Um, One of my food professors even said that you know the reasoning for this is that maybe consumers were not necessarily so radically objective to the idea, but because of this pink slime, but because it was covered up, hidden, that makes the consumer instantly suspicious of their activity. Why are they doing that? What is the reasoning behind it? So when it's finally uncovered, it's this big deal. It's this enormous idea. So it's really hard to necessarily say that you know. I mean, so what I'm trying to say is that it's really hard to it's really hard to find that happy medium, that medium where you are properly communicating and fully utilizing. Obviously, it's difficult to say an entry level product could say, "Oh, we have ammonia in our product. It's good for you. Don't worry," But uh, and also, again, with communication, it's difficult for companies to do it, to actually say, "Okay, I know you're an average Joe and you have a million things in your life, but we have something to tell you because you have to know because you're consuming your product." It's like, I don't want to know shit. I just want to eat stuff. That's what people like. They like to take a product, they like to put it in their mouth, and they like to eat it and say, this tastes good, and then go to bed. Or possibly even go do something productive. But yes, that's the whole risk reward system. That's what's so complicated about our system, and the reason for it is because of the mass production, and that's something that you can't avoid with a population that's at this size. And you can't necessarily go ahead and say that everyone should produce their own food, because that's also an inefficient method. Because if everyone had their own farm, it it doesn't it's not efficient, because everyone requires a certain amount of space and everything. If you can mass produce something in a product in a large landscape, and then go into and bring that into a city that is well developed and surrounded with um, infrastructure, uh, it's gonna be a more efficient means. One thing, a bunch of people doing one isolated idea, and other people doing another isolated idea, are specialties essentially. And that's the other thing, is what I don't get. Everyone's trying to say that everyone has to produce their own food. That's complicated. That requires a lot of time that a lot of people don't have. A lot of people are very busy, and by removing them from their daily activities and forcing them to now know all this information, it becomes quite overwhelming from a day-to-day basis to consume everything from work, social activities, and then now I have to know everything about food. It's tremendously overwhelming. So the next thing I'm going to talk about really quick, I don't have time, but I'll try and see if I can edit this. Um, Trophic levels. The energy that comes from the sun is not necessarily okay. The energy that comes from the sun is thrown out between a bunch of trophic levels. Um, so at the top of the trophic level is our producers. producers take the energy that's being from the sun and then translate it into biomass. 10% of that is then given to creatures like cows and herbivores, essentially. Anything that eats producers. Now, if we're consuming meat, let's look at that. So let's say that we have 10 energy. So 10 energy from the sun. So now we have then reduced it. If 10% of 10 is 1. So now we have 1 energy because the producers have just converted that to biomass. So now they're growing, 10% of that is now biomass. So we got 1 energy. Woohoo! We got 1 energy. Okay, so now let's look at the herbivores. Now the herbivores consume 10% of that 1. So now you have 0.01. So now you converted from your 10 energy from your sun, you have just converted to 0.01. I think you know where I'm going with the omnivores here, which is us, people who are consuming meat, particular, obviously. Now we're consuming 0.01. I might have said 0.01 before, but I meant 0.1. 0.01%. So we are roughly consuming about, I want to say, okay, I'm an idiot, and I want to, 0.01, yeah. We're roughly consuming about less than like 1,000 of what's coming in for energy. 1,000%. 0.01 efficiency is what we have. 0.01% of the things that we're eating is converted to biomass. That's unsustainable to me, and that's why I like the idea of vegetarians, because they're not consuming as much meat. Now, when I say that carefully because there's a lot of benefits to meat. There's numerous benefits to meat, and what I'm saying is that meat needs to be carefully consumed throughout, as everyone, as developed nations, our nations are being developed and coming about. Areas like Kenya, not third world countries. What is the correct term now? Developing nations. Yeah, as developing nations come about, they actually increase meat consumption. So we have a lot of people in the lower income region who are not consuming that much meat. Now we bring those into the population that are consuming much meat. If we compare the two, obviously everyone knows that U.S. consumes a crap load of our food and energy and everything. So because we're so rich, $14 billion or $14 trillion, we're rich in debt and we're rich. Okay. But anyways, so we have they need to. What I'm saying is that we're pressed. We're pressed because now we have all these new people coming in that are now going to be demanding meat, and we're not going to be able to, in my opinion, we're not going to be able to sustain how much our meat consumption, and we need to switch back over to a more vegetarian approach. Now, when I say meat, I also mean chicken, guys. So, which may make a lot of people cry. So that's my general idea. Now, you can definitely still, from a nutritional perspective, you can still get a lot of your nutrients through legumes and grains. You can get the appropriate levels of the different amino acids that we know there probably will come about to be even more essential amino acids. Essential being that our body does not produce a sufficient quantities of it. There are 9. So, yes, that's my general spiel. I hope it wasn't too long. It was 19 minutes. I'm going to edit this. Okay. Okay, when I say edit, probably won't be a great edit. I'm not very good at that.